Hello, and welcome back to the Coffin Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Vampire Kitten, and with me today I have Anna Margaret. Anna Margaret is a professional cosplayer and content creator. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat.
So let's start from, I always start from the beginning, but let's talk about what you're doing now, and then we'll kind of see how, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to throw you for a loop.
Oh, perfect.
What are you doing now? Like, what are you currently working on?
Okay, so I am currently working on actually quite a few projects. It's been really fun. So I've been working as a character actress for a little over 6 years. And so am still doing that. Lately, it's been mostly for video game or other gaming type characters, but I've also recently got to create an original fairy character that I bring out at different conventions.
Ooh.
And so it's been really fun. I don't often do original characters. And so that's been kind of a new adventure for me. I've been hosting a lot and doing some different media gigs, which is also different for me. I've definitely since childhood been more of a stage performer or in-person performer. So doing more video production has been super fun. And so yeah, I've been doing a lot of character acting as well as lots of content creation. And so it's been really fun.
So when you do content creation, what are your primary topics, I suppose?
You know, lately my primary topics have been gaming and cosplay, but I do have a science background. And so I'm a physicist, and I find that my love of physics and that actual education sneaks into my video topics a lot. I recently put out a video all about randomness and shuffling in card games. And so I was pegged immediately as, wait a minute, are you a mathematician? Do you have a math degree? And I was like, got me, I can't help it. And so a lot of times I do find that my science background sneaks in, but I've been doing mostly gaming content lately.
So, okay, you mentioned that you're a physicist. Are you still actively doing, I guess, big people job stuff? Can I say, because you know what I mean? Like,
I do. It's kind of funny. 2 years ago, I opened my own company, and I joke that my part-time job overtook my full-time job, and I went full-time content creation and cosplay. And so I think some people still look at me strangely and are like, "This is your real job? This is what you're doing?" And so right now, I am not using my degree and years of industry experience. Instead, I am doing content creation full-time.
there's an actor, actually. There's a couple of actors. I can't remember. He's from The Hangover. I think he's in The Community. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up. But he is actually a doctor. And he stopped being a doctor to pursue his acting career. And I think I always think it's interesting that you have all these people that have super amazing schooling and backgrounds, and they were doing these crazy amazing things as humans before they started following their passion, and I think that is so cool. So why cosplay? Did you just decide one day, I want to dress up and I'm a physicist, so let's dress up and have fun? Or how did that get started?
I get asked this question a lot. And I think what's kind of interesting is I've always loved performing and I've always been a part of fandom, but I didn't really find cosplay or consider myself a cosplayer until about 2017. So when I was young, I've done ballet since I was 2. And so I've been in musicals all growing up, and I've been a dancer and competed in dancing. And so I knew I always loved dressing up. And I have a picture of with my parents at a Star Trek convention when I was 3 or 4 months old, being held by a Klingon or somebody in cosplay dressed as a Klingon. So I've been surrounded by this since I was born, but I didn't really think of it as even a viable career path or even a hobby of mine until much later. I used to think that you could only dress up at conventions and Halloween. And so I'd work to make these elaborate costumes and I'd wear them to a convention or to Halloween, which was my favorite holiday. And so I would dress up at those times and I thought it was super fun. And then I started working as a party princess. And so it came about because I was working as a computer science and physics teacher. And where I live in Colorado, teachers are not paid awesome, adjusted for cost of living. So I needed a second job. job. And I was looking for a second job. And one of my students joked and was basically like, well, if being a science teacher doesn't work out for you, you should be a princess. And I was like, that's funny. Like, I live in Colorado, I don't live by the parks. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, wow, that's actually a job. You can like be a princess and host events and sing. And I was like, maybe I should do this. So I'd reached out to some local princess companies and I got hired almost immediately. And I loved it. I loved performing and I had the opportunity to perform at lots of different local events and doing corporate events. It was so much fun. And birthday parties just felt so magical. And so I realized, oh, wow, I really love being a character and I love dressing up. And it was about that time that I realized I'm like, I'm dressing up all the time, not just at conventions. And so I think it was like a Tuesday when I realized I had like finished a Star Trek cosplay, but I was nowhere close to a convention. I remember feeling so disappointed. I was like, when am I going to get to wear this? And then I was like, right. I could just wear it right now and I could take pictures in my basement and I could just do this. And it was like a light bulb flicked in my mind. And I was like, wait a minute, this is just something I can do. And so that's what I feel like I really got into cosplay. And I started making my own costumes and finding ways to monetize my love of costumes. And it's kind of just sort of cascaded from there.
That's amazing. So what are some of your favorite cosplays that you have? Also, I want to go back to party princesses because I was also a party princess and we need to swap party princess stories. Oh, I know. Oh,
party
I know.
Princesses.
I was also a party princess. We'll go back to that. What is your favorite cosplay?
I'll have to circle back because I want to hear all your party princess tea. But favorite cosplays I've made, I loved the John Carter movie. And I know I am an anomaly because most people either didn't see the movie or don't love it if they did see it. But it's based off of the novel A Princess of Mars, which is something I had read long before. And so I was really excited when John Carter came out and I made Deja Thoris's wedding dress. And it was one of my favorite cosplays. It was such a difficult build. I made so much jewelry. I did so many different like beading techniques and skills, and I love it. I'm pretty sure 3 people recognized me between all the different times I've worn it ever, but it's still a favorite of mine. And so I think that's definitely one of my favorites. Let's see. Another one of my favorite cosplays is Seven of Nine.
Okay.
I've done a few of her different looks just because Voyager used to be my favorite Star Trek, but it's been usurped by Strange New Worlds. But I still love Voyager and I love Seven of Nine. And then I recently built an Archangel cosplay for Archangel Elspeth, who's a Magic the Gathering character. And so she's got huge wings in the art, elaborate armor, and it all lights up and glows. And I joke that I did use my degree and I got to make mechanical wings that open and close, added a bunch of lights. And I love that one too. So those are probably 3 of my favorites.
Top 3. Okay. So do you have cosplay dreams? What are your dreams? Like if you had infinite amounts of money and you're like, I want to build this one cosplay, what would it be?
Ooh, this is so hard for me because I try so hard not to pick dream cosplays because I feel like if I pick something as a dream cosplay, I like put it on a pedestal in my mind and then it's too scary to approach it. And so I like get intimidated and I don't follow through. So I try not to. But I do think that like some that I've been kind of tossing around in my head for years that I will eventually hopefully do is the Cinderella live action from 2015. She walks into the ball and she's got this beautiful blue gown with butterflies. And I think it is one of the prettiest princess dresses I've ever seen. And so it is on my list sometime if I had enough money, and hopefully at some point I would love to recreate that dress.
I had one that I wanted to do. I still have all of the materials. I have 2. Because I did one of my dream cosplays. It was Siren Gem from Tron Legacy. So I did that one.
Tron Legacy.
I love it. And it had EL tape and everything, and it was so great. It was beautiful. But I want to design. This was before the Cruella movie came out, but I want to design like a high fashion Cruella de Vil. So I have all this material that I want to use, and I've just got it in storage because I was like, I will get to it eventually, hopefully. And then Amaterasu, Amy from Okami. I want to do a humanoid version of Amy, the sun goddess. She's like
Oh,
she's basically a wolf. I don't know. Have you played Okami?
I haven't, but that sounds really cool.
She's a celestial goddess, and she uses her paintbrush to mend the world from the darkness. And that's kind of like the simplest way to put it. But I love her. I actually have a tattoo of her, and it's all watercolor.
So you
the whole
have
video
to do
game.
the cosplay.
I have
You
to.
have to do the cosplay.
It's on my to-do list. But yeah, so those are probably my dream cosplays. I would like to revisit Blood Rain at some point, but we'll see. It's a very old video game that most people probably don't even recognize anymore, but that's fine.
I think it's fine. Cosplay for yourself. You can cosplay whatever character calls to you. What do you think is your favorite cosplay you've made?
Oh man, that's hard. I like my original characters the most. I make a lot of original stuff, and I want to say, I have some antlers that I made. It wasn't cosplay, it was for another event, but they are actual antlers, and they start kind of like the back of my head, and they come around, and they're covered in rhinestones, and they're real antlers, and they go into my hair. Probably the best little piece that I've ever made, but I use it with a bunch of original characters, so it's kind of not like, it's not really a cosplay. I'd have to say, character wise, oh, I don't know. I was superhero Ariel. I did a superhero Ariel, like Little Mermaid costume, and that's probably one of my favorites because I got to do it with like a ton of friends. We were all superhero princesses at Comic-Con. It was very cute.
Those crossover cosplays are always so fun, especially when there's a group that kind of comes together.
So let's go back to princesses because we need to talk about party princessing. Party princessing is a dog-eat-dog cutthroat world of craziness. Did you get that experience too, or was it just me?
You know, I have seen that online and I completely agree with you. I think I was very lucky to be pretty insulated with the company I worked for. I guess I made good friends with the owner and we were close, and I took on more of a mentorship role to the other people there, and I loved doing training parties. But I will say I kind of stopped being as active and I started being more online, especially during the pandemic, and I was shocked by the cattiness and just the competition and I don't know, it's intense. I am so thankful that the company I worked for wasn't like that, but you're totally right. You see it all online and you're like, oh no, oh my gosh, we're all just trying to be fictional characters to make people smile. What's going on?
Yeah. So without going into too many details, and I'm not going to name names, I worked for multiple companies. I worked for two. And I was kind of a backup for the secondary company, but my main company was like a good friend of mine. What had happened was I was working at Halloween Adventure as like, it was just a part-time job. Like I just needed work. So we met through Halloween Adventure, which was, obviously Halloween, seasonal crappy job. One day she comes in and she's like, I need your help. I have a girl who got sick and I need you to put on this dress and I need you to go to this event and I need you to just stand there and look pretty and I will run the event, but you just need to be this character. And I was like,
trial by fire.
I was like horrified. First of all, horrified. I was Belle that day, horrified. And she ran the party around me and it was very cute. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I could totally do this. And so that became like my part-time job. Well, another party company that she worked with, intermingled with, this is the drama. She was the meanest woman I have ever met. But she's like, do you ever meet those people that they pretend to be nice and you can see right through them and they're just nice but mean?
It's almost worse. I'd rather you just said it to my face.
Right. So she was awful. The first time I had done a party for her, she said I was too sexy, which I don't think I was. I was completely covered. So she didn't like my makeup. She didn't like my look. She had so many things to say about the way I looked.
Oh my gosh.
She literally called me fat.
And she didn't even provide makeup guides probably.
No. She was awful. She was an awful human being. And I don't know, she's probably still out there somewhere, but She was awful. And we had to work with her so often because she was like the big one in like the area that we lived in. And so she was constantly basically ripping off all of our ideas from my friend's company. Like I had done, I had made like magical ponies. I had done all these other things. We did like these cool like they were called party monsters. We had all these ideas and concepts that were brand new to the party industry. And then she started copying all of the stuff instead of hiring us.
No.
So she copied all of my costumes, and it was so frustrating. Because I also started doing Monster High, and she's like, that will never work. And then I started doing My Little Pony, and she's like, that'll never work. And then she saw that we were booking, and so she started ripping off my
No, I hate it.
I hate it too. She was awful. And then she got really petty, and it got to the point where we were doing Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like we were doing like Walk for Wishes every year. And one year we went to go do Walk for Wishes, and they were like, oh, we already hired a princess company.
No.
Yep. She swooped in, took our Walk for Wishes, our charity event.
That is the strangest thing to me.
She straight took our charity event and was horrible. She was horrible. I was like, who does that? Who steals a charity event? Like,
it's wild to me.
She's awful. I'm telling you. I have worked with some people, and she is up there on the list of terrible people that I've worked with. I don't know if you have horror stories. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you probably have birthday party horror stories.
I feel very lucky to have few horror stories, but I do have lots of funny or endearing stories. I think like I said, I feel very blessed that I was a little bit insulated, but you do always have those times where you're like, oh man, I forgot all the words. And so it's happened to me twice that I've just, the song was gone.
That's okay. I mean, it happens. I will say, if I ever go back to it, I will never be the Easter Bunny again.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like an adventure.
The people mistreat the Easter Bunny a lot. Kids do. I don't know what it is about the Easter Bunny. Kids do not like the Easter Bunny. And two, I will never do adult appearances again because they get really gross. Really fast.
I could see that.
Because
even I had to stop for gas one time as I think I was the Snow Queen, which is what my company called Elsa. And I remember I stopped for gas, and I remember like getting catcalled multiple times, wanting to like sprint back around into the car. I was like, I'm dressed as a child's character. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you right now, but you're not doing the right thing.
I did an Elvira appearance, and I did a Wonder Woman appearance. And that was it. I never again. I was like, I'm never doing this. People are disgusting. I'm not going to go into it, but it's like, I learned my lesson there. If you want an appearance for a character, you can hire somebody else because it's not going to be me.
Not me.
Right.
I feel like one of my party princess horror stories was because of a costuming fiasco.
Oh no.
So I will share because it's kind of funny now in hindsight, especially now that the company has a much better Sleeping Beauty outfit. But her pink dress, when I started working at this company, was made out of, I want to say, felt. It was horrific.
Oh, no.
And it was so sweaty. And it had one of the vintage vintage zippers, the style where like the collar is completely sewn around. And so that's how they get the, white part of the collar to stand up straight, but it wouldn't zip or it wouldn't come undone. The zipper was only down the side. And so when I was hired, I was, cleared for all these princesses. I tried on that dress specifically because they're like, hey, this is a kind of a tight costume. Like, we want to make sure before we approve you for her that it fits and it works and it's good. Especially because since I was a soprano, and I guess I'm still a soprano because I'm a soprano, they wanted me to book to be all the classic princesses. And so I tried it on at the, they're in the little nice studio and space where there's all of the dresses hung and looking beautiful, and it was fine. You put it on, you take it off, no issue. I do this party. I put on the dress. I do a tea party for like 50 people. You're sing as Aurora, you do the whole event. And then I've been sweating in this
Oh
felt costume
no.
for like an hour and a half. And then I was just like, I'm going to die in this costume. I cannot get it off. I go back to princess headquarters. I'm trying to get this costume off. And I was like, panic attack, near meltdown. Like, I'm going to die in this costume. And I remember one of the other princesses being like, it's okay. It's okay. We can get it off.
That's a core memory now, is just her
She's like,
panicking.
if we have to, we'll just cut it. And I was like, we can't get the costume. It was horrific. And so I still, I I got booked as her a lot for a while. And then there's like ebbs and flows of who you get booked as. So it'd been
Right.
probably about a year since I had been Sleeping Beauty. And I got booked as her again. And I remember just like going to sleep and like having a cold sweat and just being terrified of this
Panicking.
until I got there and was like, oh, we replaced the dress. How did I miss the memo that we've replaced the dress? And so the dress has been replaced. It's now like this beautiful dress. But I got anxious literally every time. I made my partner come with me to headquarters because I
Just
was
in
like,
case.
I'm going to get shot in the dress. Oh, wait, no, it's a new dress. Sorry. Like, never mind. You're fine.
That's funny.
I don't need your help. But I was so scared. I was like, I'm going to die in this dress.
Well, it sounds like you have had a better experience than me. I think if it weren't for the one lady, it would have been fine. I mean, minus the obvious like things that happen at the kids' parties. Like sometimes parents get too drunk.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like, there's weird grandpa. There's usually a weird grandpa.
Weird uncle. It
or
was
a
always
weird
weird uncle for me.
Yeah.
It was like multiple times. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I hated doing, actually, I had a love-hate relationship with like 1-year-old birthday parties because
Oh gosh, they're way too young to.
they are. And I'm sitting here holding this infant and I'm like, first of all, I'm very uncomfortable because I'm holding an infant in a dress that I could fall in. Second of all, they fed me a lot of food. So I'm just like, I can't be mad at these parties because they're always really great because it's just a family getting together. It's not like there's no pressure.
The 1-year-old birthdays, though, like I always somewhat struggle to know what to do. Because whenever I had birthday parties, like you have like your little formula. So there's the half-hour party, 45-minute, hour and a half. And you've got the things you do, like the greeting, the princess initiation, the story time, the song, the dance. Like you have all your things you do. And when they're 1 year old, you're like,
What do I do? I got lucky
do I just smile? Like what's my plan?
I got lucky in that there were always other kids.
See, that's a win.
So,
that
like,
happens sometimes.
yeah.
But there's one that sticks out in my memory that I show up at this party. It's a 1-year-old, her parents, the parents' siblings, and the grandparents. And the grandparents were throwing the party. There was an ice cream truck. There was like food trucks.
Were there any kids?
Everybody was dressed up. Like the mom was Snow White. Like everybody's dressed up as princesses. I show up as Cinderella. No children except the 1-year-old. And I was like, let's do this.
That's weird.
Like, here's what we're doing, I guess. Like, let's go. But that was one of those where I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Mostly
why am
photo
I
ops.
here?
Right.
Yeah, it was a photo op, basically. Yeah. I was like, okay. Like,
That's cute. I mean, I miss it sometimes, but I also don't miss it. There are a lot of things that I learned from just being around kids. I learned that kids are really smart.
mm-hmm.
And I don't think that we as adults, unless you spend a lot of time around kids, I don't think that we as adults understand children enough, like their imagination and their smarts and what they're capable of. Because they're super smart, man. Some of the kids that I had were so smart. They were telling me stories, and I'm just like, wow, you're actually a really cool kid. You're really creative. Like, if you want to be a scientist when you grow up and you love seahorses, go for it. Like, like, go for it. I don't think adults encourage that enough, and I feel like I felt like I gave those kids a little something to like push them in the right direction. Hopefully that makes sense.
I feel like you really did.
Mhm.
I feel like that's one reason that I am so drawn to being a character actress and cosplay, because I think that that it's
cosplay
wonderful
at conventions.
it's wonderful to make believe. It's wonderful to pretend and tell stories and engage. And I love it when kids approach me and want a picture or I can chat with them. And I think that we sometimes we sometimes force kids to grow up so quickly. And I
Hmm.
know that like there's times when I'm dressed in cosplay and you're slightly outside the beaten path of what you're doing, or like I'm doing a photo shoot in a more public space. There's always the people that are like, grow up, or what are you doing? You're an adult. And I feel like that mindset is so toxic. Like, why do you need to grow out of make believe? Why do you need to grow out of fantasy and playing dress up? There's nothing wrong with those things. And I think that we sometimes make kids and teenagers feel bad for their interests.
Right.
And so I think that that's one thing I'm happy to be like, nope, this is great. This is my job. Like,
Hmm.
you see, me here with these photographers, like this is my job. Like, I'm sorry that you're so unhappy with your job that you feel the need to judge mine, but I really love what I'm doing. And so I think I think that like you probably really did inspire those kids. And I think that those kids having the opportunity to maintain that sense of wonder is awesome. And I love being a part of it.
Yeah, I'd say that's like thing that I miss about Party Princess. Everything else, nope. I have my moments of nostalgia, and then I bring myself right back down to earth. So,
Valid.
when you get hired for a convention or an appearance or whatever, what's the process? What happens?
So there's kind of two different events that I'm often booked for, and there's a third one that's been somewhat sneaking in, but it's interesting and it's a little bit more different. But I'll get into the three. So I'm either booked as a character, and if they want me to play a character, then I have a lot of research to do. And so those types of bookings are when maybe I'm booked as a princess for an event, or I'm booked as a superhero, or I'm booked to be like a specific character, often interacting with children. So, for example, I'm often a princess or a superhero like Wonder Woman or something. But I also recently have been doing more character appearances as original characters. And so I made a fairy character named Xenia, and Xenia was booked for different events a lot this summer. And so if I am at the Unicorn Festival or the Fairy Festival, I'm going as that character, as
Right.
that fairy. And so I have to plan events or plan what I'm going to do. And if I'm being booked as a pre established character, that looks like researching their appearance, researching their mannerisms. And so you want to make sure that you kind of have the story down for the character. There was one time I was booked as the first princess. And I was like, I'm Snow White. Great. I know all those songs. I know her mannerisms. I have the official makeup guides from when I was a party princess. I'm good to go. Until I looked a little closer at the contract and was like, oh no, I'm Sophia the First. I have never seen the show. I've never heard of it. I don't know anything about this character. And it was some crash coursing. I think I read the Wikipedia article for literally every episode because I was like, oh my gosh, all these children are expecting something. And I'm an adult and she's a literal child. And I need to make this as convincing as possible. For my own original characters, that looks like being consistent with myself. Especially if I'm making this, I don't have the same guides to go off of. And so I try to be very consistent with myself. That usually looks for me like a Google Doc where I'm like, okay, name. This is what I'm doing for personality. This is what I'm bringing, and this is what I'm doing, just in case they've met me at multiple events. And that happens. And so I try to also keep my language really neutral. So I never say, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." I always say something like, "It's so great to see you," or "Thanks for taking the time to connect with me today," or "I really appreciate you coming over." Things that are very neutral in case they have met me, or
Right.
if for a real character, a variation of me before. And so if I'm booked as an actual character, that's kind of the process I go through. Now, sometimes I am booked as me in costume. So that's kind of the second way that I'm booked. And those are a little bit different because I'm being invited as a cosplay guest, but I'm not that character. And so some people might approach you and expect you to be that character, but oftentimes they'll approach you and be like, "Can I have a picture with you? How'd you make this costume?" Or, "Oh, I love your cosplay." So rather than being the character, I'm like, dressing up as the character, and that's kind of the established routine. For those ones, I try to make sure that like on my social media, I've recently posted photos of that costume as well as me out of cosplay so that people are aware, especially if the website has me as myself and
Right.
I know I'm going to look different, just so that it makes sense of who I am. I generally only cosplay characters where I know their story and I like them just because that's my preference. But I know some people will cosplay things they're not as familiar with. And so I think you'd want to make sure you're familiar with the source material. And so I'd say that's probably the most common, where I'm technically booked as myself, but I'm expected to be in costume. Recently, I got to be Galadriel and Arwen at an event, and
Very
I
cool.
had wild amounts of fun. Galadriel was my favorite character growing up, and Lord of the Rings is one of my very favorite pieces of media. I think it largely inspired my love of fantasy.
Right.
And so being Galadriel was like huge highlight. I did realize though that I read the books as a child and I read them in my head and I was like, am I pronouncing any of these words correctly? Probably not. Like childhood me was like not sure how to say any of them. And so I like went through and made sure I knew how to say them. Coming up in about 2 weeks, I get to be a Doctor Who characters for a weekend, and
Cool.
so I'm super excited. And for that, I've watched Doctor Who since the reboot, in 2009. Not so much reboot, but like the new era of Who,
Right.
and I've seen all of the episodes from then on, but I realized it's like been a minute. And so as I'm planning out those characters, I'm just making sure I'm brushed up on them enough that when people come over, I can do small talk of like, oh my gosh, yeah, that episode was great. And oh, yes, I love that character too. And things like that.
Right.
The third way I'm being booked for conventions hasn't happened as much, but it's happening more than I expected. I definitely was like a character actress first that kind of morphed into also being a cosplayer. And so I'm a cosplayer full time. But just recently, I think I've started to become known also for my videos on games and science of games. And
Right.
so as that started happening, I have been invited to some events just as myself. Or
How's that?
recently, it's
What's it?
bizarre.
I know. I was about to say. It's so. First of all, you are coming as you, normal
Mm,
clothes, no extra bags for costumes,
yeah, it was
and
crazy.
you're like, well, I guess I'm just gonna talk to people like normal.
It was the strangest thing. Like I said, it's only happened a few times, but this past weekend, I was booked to do some promotional filming. And
Right.
I was like, okay, like what costume should I wear? And they're like, oh no, just come in business casual. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm coming to your event as myself.
Did you
And you
feel
want
like
me?
completely naked? Like you
I did.
were missing a piece of yourself?
Yes, I did. I'm like doing my makeup in the morning, like getting my hair ready. I'm like, no wig cap,
Hmm.
normal neutral makeup. Like, what am I doing? It was very weird. And it was a little bit surreal to be approached as myself versus as somebody else. And so that has not happened as much. And I'm still getting used to that type of convention appearance. So I don't even know what I did to prepare other than just have anxiety. But I will say it went better than I expected. And I do have a few other events coming up where I will be doing the same thing, coming as myself. And so I'm slowly getting more used to it.
So you said you do gaming content. What kind of gaming content do you do?
So I mostly do trading cards, and so TCGs are something that I really love. Gosh, this is a throwback. So when I worked at an electrochemical company, I basically did a lot of computer science and ran a lot of simulations. But oftentimes the trials I'd be running had like really expensive components. So like the semiconductor I was running trials on was like $11,000, and I couldn't
Right.
leave. So I ended up just playing a lot of online Dominion. I played so much online Dominion that for a brief, like 1 or 2 minute period, I was like number one in on the
Oh
program. And I was like, don't
wow.
refresh it. Don't refresh the screen. This is my highest point. And so I think that kind of started my love of TCG, or just games, playing card games and those are sort of engine building games.
Right.
And then about 2 years ago, I got really into magic. A friend gifted me a precon and started a monster, created a monster. I
What
don't think
was
she
your
knew she was
pre-con?
creating. It was the Prismari Performance Commander Precon. And so Magic the Gathering has different colors that have kind of different personalities. And this particular deck, Prismari, was red blue. And so the Prismari campus in Magic lore is all about creativity and like artwork. And they were like, this is perfect for you. And
hmm
I agree. It was pretty perfect for me. And so it was kind of a spiral. And so I make a lot of content around those types of games. So Magic the Gathering, as well as Disney Lorcana and other kind of different trading card games. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but I have a really fun, because I have to, I'll give a hint. There's a smaller trading card game that I'm working with, and I'm going to get to be on a card. And so that's something that I'm like super excited for. So
That's amazing.
I think that's kind of where most of my content lies. I am super excited about Baldur's Gate, so video games might sneak their way in,
Oh
but
my
currently it's
gosh.
mostly just kind of tabletop games. I know. Are you playing?
Yep. Yep. I
Ah!
am Baldur's Gate has absorbed what very little free time I have. Very
Oh
little.
man.
It is I feel like this is the proper show to talk about Baldur'sAte.
I think so too, because I think it is literally setting the bar
Right.
for these style of games.
So
And
what did you I want to know what character you started with and what race and class you started with. If you
okay,
can
so
remember.
I literally have only made it to the character creator because of free time, but I can't decide. I think ultimately I am going to be a bard, just because that's, I feel like if I was in really there, that's who I'd be. But I had fun being like, oh wait, can I make my D&D character? Oh yeah, wait, can I look like
That's
this? So I need like a huge chunk of time to just play. And so I don't know.
so,
I've been living vicariously through all the people streaming and posting about it, because
oh
I'm
my
like, I
gosh.
need time. I'm obsessed and I haven't even gotten to play it.
I haven't even gotten very far. I'm
Okay,
barely
good. So
into
we're the
Act
same.
2. Yeah, I'm into Act 2. But I have made acquaintances and connections. So I have 3 characters that I started. But I just keep starting with them because friends are like, "Hey, come play with me." And so you don't laugh, because I know you're going to laugh. My bard
I gotta make sure I'm not drinking tea right now.
she is the most hideous, bald-headed gnome character I could create, and she's just awful. She's so ugly, and she's
I
like
love it
the
so
best.
much.
She's so ugly. She has the like the pattern, male pattern baldness, like where it starts and it's
Yes,
kind of
yes.
got that's what her hair looks like. And it's hilarious to me because I'm a menace with that character. I will, in the middle of some sort of battle that's going on, just play my lute. I have no shame. Don't care. I will do it. I have another character who is a tiefling necrotic druid. So she raises fungus zombies.
Wait, but that feels like so much your vibe and your aesthetic.
She's so cute. I love her. And I tried to make her like the most woodsy, earthy looking tiefling ever, because they're demonic and they're scary and they're fire, but I feel like she's a vibe. I love her. I accidentally romanced Lae'zel with her.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, Lae'zel's one of my favorite Magic cards, because they did do crossover Baldur's Gate Magic, and that's one of my favorite Magic cards, so I'm here for it.
She was a nightmare until I told her she needs to calm down, and she's totally mellow now. I know people don't like her.
That's the strangest thing, because if somebody told me to calm down, I would not calm down.
Well, I think what it is this is spoilers. Are you ready for some Lae'zel spoilers?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So she decides that she likes you, then wants you to get into physical combat to see if you can handle her. Then you guys do it, and then you guys fight some more. And then I told her I would like actual love, and she goes, "Okay, if that's what you want, you've earned it." And I'm like, "Cool. This is where we're at now."
It's a good place to be.
It's a good place, because then I don't have to mess. And then everyone else in camp wanted to be with me after that. So like now I'm with Will. That character, she's with everybody. Let me tell you, it's bad. I started a dark character. Immediately killed one of my party members. I was like, cool, this is really bad. I guess we're just going to continue. And so those are my characters, and that is what I've been dealing with. So I'm a menace to Baldur's Gate society.
I love it.
In so many ways. Play the game. Give yourself some time.
I know. I need to like set aside a huge chunk of time so I can just play a lot.
Yeah, it's 100%. The pacing is good in that you can get up, walk away, do things, and come back to it. But Hands down, one of the best video games I've ever played in my life. I've been playing games forever. In my life, it's one of the best. So,
oh man,
I don't know what other companies are gonna do now.
I don't know. I was chatting with my my brother-in-law, and he's an anime reviewer. And so he has lots of like great opinions on media. And so he's the person that I'm like, "Hey, what anime should I watch?" because he knows exactly what I'd like. And as soon as he started playing this game, he was like, "Anna, you have to play this game. This is exactly what you'd like. This is amazing." We were chatting about how it really is setting the bar. And so I've gone through and I've been watching different streams and people play, and I'm like, I'm obsessed, and I have not even gotten to play it. So once I start playing this, it might become my whole personality and my whole page. So I'm lucky that oftentimes my audience is okay with following my whims into whatever I'm suddenly into in that moment. And so I'm lucky for that.
It's fantastic. I was playing Diablo. Immediately after playing Diablo, I was like, we're done with that. I haven't even finished my battle pass or whatever. We're gonna move on. Baldur's Gate. And the Baldur's Gate memes are so good. Also, if you get a chance, and this is to my listeners and viewers as well, go watch the Larian D&D one shot that all of the characters are playing their own characters. It's hilarious. I mean, it's like 3 hours of bullying Gale.
By Mark Holmes? Is that DM'd by Mark Holmes, I believe?
I think so.
Such a talented GM.
It is so good. Go watch it. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not listening to it at the very least. It is so funny. But yeah, it just seems it's amazing. I'm so glad that we have this world now that we're all kind of obsessed with at the same time.
Yes.
Because even people that aren't
like
playing
when
it.
Animal Crossing was a thing.
Oh, I know.
Everybody.
Still is a thing.
I wish it was still a thing, or maybe it is still a thing. I love Animal Crossing.
I do unhinged Animal Crossing builds, like on my. I just built.
Wait, I'm interested.
I just recreated. I haven't posted it yet. It hasn't been released, but I just recreated 2 of the bedrooms in What We Do in the Shadows.
On Animal Crossing?
Yeah, so I did Colin's room and I did Nandor's room.
Just refreshing your page so they can show up.
So I'm gonna have to. I will tell everybody when those go live. But it killed me to do those. I was like, we're just doing more of these now. But yeah, it's very, very good. Animal Crossing never left. I'm part of this Animal Crossing After Dark group on Facebook, and it's a bunch of adults doing naughty Animal Crossing builds.
No, I don't think I've been that one. I was in a lot of Animal Crossing Facebook groups. I don't even know which ones I've been anymore.
They're so good.
But I actually, so I was super, super into Animal Crossing. And then around I don't even know when I got into it, but there's another game. It's an indie game called Cozy Grove. And I
don't think I've heard of that.
Cozy Grove. Basically, you're a spirit scout. And so you're helping all of these spirits that are bears on the island kind of find their memories and like find peace. And unlike Animal Crossing, where you're really clearing the island and like building it and making it, more aesthetic, in Cozy Grove, as you return their memories to them and you kind of do the different tasks, it becomes more and more cluttered. Their items go from like kind of hazy to like you see all of their stuff in their items, and I just love it. And
That's
so I've actually
cute.
I don't know. I've been so into this game that like anytime people are like, "Oh, gaming recommendations on Twitter," I'm like, Cozy Grove. To the fact where they DM'd me, they're like, "Thanks so much for like promoting our game." I was like, "Got you. It's so good." When I bought it, it was like $5 on the Switch store. So like,
I will definitely check it out. Oh, it's on Switch.
It's a mobile game too.
Perfect.
Yeah, Switch and mobile, I think. But no, I love it. So that one, I still play that one a lot. I love that one.
Okay, I'll definitely check that one out. So you're a big time gamer. Do you play? What else do you play?
I'm really into Pokemon. I was teaching the cards a little bit, but the games a lot. So I started with Pokemon Red and then Yellow. And then I have played at least one of the games in every generation since then. And I don't have all of the Pokemon from the latest game, but up until the latest game, I have a living Pokédex of every single Pokemon, including like the regional exclusives in Japan or like all of the like promotional Pokemon. One summer while I was teaching, I my partner and I were like, all the Pokemon, all the Pokemon. And so I was super into grinding like the battle tree, and I bred like the perfect stats shiny Pokemon. I was really into it. I still am into it, but I feel like I have a more healthy at the moment relationship with it, where I like play
So,
sometimes and I love it. So
so
Pokemon is definitely one.
I love that you just said that your Pokemon relationship is now healthy, whereas before it was unhealthy.
I would say we borderlined on like that obsessive relationship where, like you're both good for each other, but maybe you're a little bit too much for each other. And I was, we were maybe a little too much for each other, but no, I still absolutely love it. Something kind of fun is I have 3 siblings, and all of us are super into Pokemon. It started, from childhood when my older sister and I had the link cable that you had to hold at just the right angle to trade your Pokemon back and forth. It was like,
and then you figured out the cheats and stuff to where if you traded certain ones, they would evolve, or you could get other ones.
The little glitches. Yeah, we were like all into that. And then I have 2 younger siblings. One of them is 14 years younger than me, but they are both also really into Pokemon. And so it was kind of funny because there was like a period where maybe I was like not as into it, but that I needed to be. And so, because they're like, wait a minute, we need all of us for a raid. And I was like, y'all have already beaten the game. It's a week after the game's out. Y'all have already beaten it. You've done all of this stuff. But I guess I'll show up with my little Pokemon. If you really want me for this raid, here I come. Like, I'll do it.
Shit, your tiny little, like, level 10.
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's been 1 week since the release. I don't know how much time y'all have, but here, let's go. So my siblings are all super into Pokemon as well. Actually, the entire conversation for today, because I spent a lot of time with my siblings today, was all about the new DLC. And so anyway, Pokemon is something that we kind of, we love. And
that's cute that you have something really fun to connect over to. That is consistent.
Yeah. I'm thankful for that. I feel like it's something that we have like the sibling group text that's always Pokemon themed, periodically other things, but usually always Pokemon. So I do love Pokemon. I was really into the card game when I was younger. I have a few, I guess I say I'm not really into it. I have a few decks. I have a few decks of the Pokemon trading card game now, but I don't know if I could handle another card game to be as into right now. I feel like Magic kind of had a chokehold on me. And then now Lorcana, as a party princess. Oh, yeah. I was like, wait a minute. A trading card game with Disney characters that's loosely, the rules are very similar to Magic. So I don't even want to, a big box of Lorcana stuff down there.
I have a love-hate relationship with card games because I really love card games, but the amount of space that card games take, and sometimes they're super inconvenient where I'm like, I've got to travel with all this stuff. If you can give me a card game, like I will almost always, I know this is terrible, I have bought Monopoly like 10 times on game systems. On game systems, because like I'm obsessed with like, there is some nostalgia for me with Monopoly, playing it on like the Super Nintendo, and having it accessible anywhere is kind of a fun thing. But yeah, I love Monopoly. Monopoly is terrible. It's not fun. Nobody ever is like, I love this game. I torture myself with this game, and I just have it on every console that I've ever purchased. It's on my Switch. It's on my Xbox. It's on everything. I will buy it if it's a cartridge in a retro game store. I don't know what my problem is.
It's the nostalgic vibe.
It really is.
No, but I feel you about the space thing. I'm so glad that none of y'all can see my desk right now. You see facing me, not
it's all clean.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Magic decks on my desk right now.
Oh, are they organized or are they all over the place?
14. They're all in boxes. They are all in boxes, but they're just
everywhere.
They're just everywhere.
So let's take a quick break. So what, you do a lot of content creation. What is it that you kind of love doing the most when it comes to content creation? Like, what is your, like, I guess, formula? What do you work on? Or I guess, strive to accomplish when it comes to your content?
I feel like so many of the conversations around content are about how to make content do well or how to make content for the algorithm or for success. And I find that if I try to chase that, I'm not as happy. And so lately, what I've been really trying to do is just focus on the parts of both content creation and cosplay and things that I enjoy. For example, I realized like in cosplay is basically like a combination of so many different hobbies. You've got makeup and like body paint and kind of that SFX makeup, but you also have sewing or like crafting or photography and videography. And I realized that I really enjoy videography and photography and I love editing. And I think that's kind of why I've really enjoyed making video content as well. And I think that I try to chase the things that I enjoy because I do think that like authentic excitement comes across. And so I often try to chase things that I'm interested in and create costumes and content that inspire me. I do think though that like money is important to survive. And so I also like balance that by, trying to accept opportunities that I am passionate about. Like I recently got to do some sponsored videos for like Lord of the Rings topics. And like I said, that's something I'm hugely passionate about. And I feel like that comes across in my excitement. And so I think that that's kind of what I try to focus on. Like I think that, you can't please everybody. And that's something that I have struggled with content creation, that for as many people that like the post or enjoy your post, there's the fraction of people that will never like your content. And I think that used to eat at me more. But I realized that if I like it, I'm not as bothered by the people who don't enjoy what I'm making.
Right. I feel that there's a balance that you need to find in both dealing with an algorithm and gaining popularity in so you can do the things that you want to do, but you also
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
also need to not lose yourself in the process.
Mhm. I
So
try to think of it as like there's three different types of content. There's content that grows your brand, there's content that makes you money, and there's content that grows your popularity. And
right.
I think that you have to kind of balance the ratio that you're doing these posts just to keep your sanity and be happy. Like obviously you need to do posts and content that makes you money, but I think that should be balanced by content that grows your brand or feel like is what you want to make or that's authentic to you, kind of partnered with that stuff that has the potential to maybe go viral or to grow your audience. And so I think that like I try to think of it as this kind of three categories, and I don't want to lean too hard in any direction. I don't want to feel like I'm just a like only doing
You're
sponsored posts.
yeah.
But I want to kind of have that balance and find that balance. So that's kind of the approach I take when making my content.
Okay. Yeah, so and I know just doing a sponsored post or whatever, there was always going to be the people that are like, "Oh, well, you're selling out," rather than actually like doing what you love to do versus posting something that you love to do versus posting something that you're like, I didn't really like this, but I know that it's going to get views.
I try to
So,
make even the ads that I'm doing or the sponsors posts I'm doing fun and kind of more, I don't know,
on
more
brand.
interesting. Yeah, whether that's being in costume or making it into a funny skit. I don't know. I think sometimes that works. And so it's something fun that,
Oh,
I can
definitely.
do to make it more interesting.
I think that it is important that we as artists and content creators and what have you don't get absorbed by the algorithm. Like it's really hard to chase it, but at the same time, like I'm trying very hard. Like I've done things that I'm like, okay, this grows my channel, but I hate doing those things. Like I don't want to do those things forever. If I can get to a certain point of growth, I will be able to do the things that I want to do versus the things that I don't want to. So it's hard. I mean, people don't
I
realize
agree.
that.
I think that's really hard because numbers just matter so much. And I wish they didn't. I wish I could just not care. But like, you're right. Opportunities can often feel locked behind numbers.
Right. And at the end of the day, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to be earning a living as not only a content creator, because it looks magical to so many people. They're like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a streamer. I want to be this. I want to be that. It's long nights. It's lots of editing. It's lots of unpaid time. And it's
Yeah.
really a commitment. Like, it really is.
It's funny when like I think about like a 45-second sponsored post. And at first the number or the amount that they're paying me seems big until I'm like, okay, but wait, I spent like an hour driving to the set location, like both ways. I got into costume, I filmed, I edited, I scripted, I did revisions. And you're like, oh, great. Like this was a lot behind the scenes. And I think that like I know some people do a really great or their brand might be sharing a lot of the behind the scenes. And I realized, especially, and it might have been just coming from being a party princess, I was really only showing the final product, the polished product for so long that I was like, I have built up this illusion that I just make it happen magically. And it's funny. I agree with you. People don't often see the other side.
If you can take that opportunity to also make the other side content, you got two birds with one stone. You literally, if you can unlock the magic, the ingredients of like using all of these different aspects of the things that you have to do and making content out of that as well, then you're winning for sure.
Yes. Yes, I agree. If I can, I try to tell myself that every time I'm like, oh, I don't want to shoot B-roll. No, shoot the
Do
B-roll.
it. Just do it.
Do the background.
I keep shooting all sorts of stuff that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make this a video, and then I just don't have the time. Like, at some point I will edit it. We'll see. And then at some point you're like, oh, it's been too long, so I don't know if this is even relevant anymore, but you know.
I have some footage I took from Halloween last year. I'm happy that Halloween's coming back around because I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's edit it now.
I mean, yeah, just reuse it. Nobody's
That
gonna
is
know.
something that I realized is that social media, they only really your followers only really see a fraction of what you post, and like only a fraction of your followers will see anything specific. And so I used to feel so weird about reposting content, but recently I've been like, I should, because I, spent hours and hours like putting together this
Not
look and
everybody's
doing
seen
these
it.
photos. I posted maybe 2 pictures and I was like, okay, that's it. And so it's been sort of fun actually revisiting old cosplays and old makeup looks or old, you know, content pieces, kind of either editing new photos from the shoot or just resharing clips and being like, people probably haven't seen this.
No, because the algorithm's so messed up all the time on every website that you can't guarantee that that person's seen it more than once. And if they have, it's because they're following you and they're probably going to enjoy it anyway. So
Yeah, they
why
might
not?
like to see it again either way.
So
Yeah.
speaking of Halloween, you said it's your favorite holiday. Halloween
I
is
love
coming
Halloween.
up. We have to talk about two things. Halloween is coming up, and Friday the 13th is on a Friday in October this year. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it's in October.
Do you have anything fun planned?
I'm thinking of going and doing one of those like Friday the 13th flash tattoos. Like,
Oh,
like,
you are?
yeah, I'm thinking about it because I was like, it's
This
kind of
would be
special.
the time. This might be
Yeah.
the time.
So I think I'm going to try to do that.
There's sometimes a few years ago, for the month of October, I did either a quick makeup look or a full cosplay for every day of October. I don't think I have time this year. I don't think that's happening. I'm also wildly behind on my annual calendar shoots. And so I know I do need to prioritize that a little bit, but I do have some fun Halloween makeup looks. I'm a big fan of milk bath photography. And since I am often my own photographer, I can be as crazy as I want and set up a pool in my garage and make my partner dangle over the pool on a ladder with the expensive camera to take pictures as me being a creepy mermaid and such. And so I have a fun shoot that I've been plotting kind of all summer. And I meant to shoot it when it was warmer earlier in the summer to then save for Halloween. But nope, we're shooting in October in Colorado.
Fun.
I like really love doing spooky milk bath shoots. So I've done like a bog monster, I've done like a siren mermaid, and now I want to do a fairy shoot where I start as a pretty fairy and then I'm going to slowly darken the water to black and then be like a corrupted, creepy fairy. So
Oh, I
that's
love
one
it.
of my Halloween shoots that I'm very excited for. And so I have some fun, different Halloween content I'm going to do while also manically shooting my calendar.
I feel like once I get to Halloween, I'm just done. I'm already Halloweened out. Like
I've heard that from so many cosplayers, and I am the same way on Halloween night. People are always like, "Wait a minute,
what are you
you're
gonna
a
yeah,
cosplayer.
what are you gonna bring
What's
out?
your plan?" And it's like,
Pajamas.
I've been dressing up all year. I'm
Right.
probably gonna wear a Pokemon onesie
That's
or
the day
something,
off.
but I don't know.
You know, there are two types of women, right? There's the ones that are super sexy and go for the great costumes, and then there's us who are in our kagurumi onesie and we just want to watch horror movies and we want to not be bothered by costumes for that's like our one day off.
I agree.
I feel.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll do the whole rest of the month and then I won't dress up on
Right.
Halloween.
You don't need
Although
to.
last year I was at a convention for Halloween, and
How
so
was
I
that?
was dressed up. I was a cosplayer at a convention, so I did dress up.
It was work.
But it was more work. This year I decided not to work a convention that reached out to me over Halloween. And so I probably will be at home watching scary movies.
Do you get trick-or-treaters?
But I almost did. You know, so my old house did not get trick-or-treaters, but the house that I live now, we do get a lot of trick-or-treaters, and I love it. I think last year we just played Scythe, which is one of my favorite board games, and ate a bunch of pizza, and it was so much fun having people come to the house and giving out lots of candy.
I feel like I don't live in a neighborhood where we get trick-or-treaters. I also think that nobody in my neighborhood's an older neighborhood. Like we've got a lot of older people living here. So like they don't really decorate or anything. But when I move, I have like 3 boxes of Halloween in storage. I collect bone animals. You know, the weird, stupid ones?
Yes.
They're my
know
favorite
those.
because they're so stupid. And they make me laugh because octopuses don't have bones, but
No.
on Halloween they do. So
no, okay, we're gonna go off on a tangent, but those,
I love it.
Incorrect science things,
They're
especially
so
geared
funny.
towards children. I don't know. I watched an interview that showed a bunch of people graduating from Harvard that didn't know why we had seasons. And then now when I see like kids shows like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse misrepresenting why we have seasons, I'm like, it all starts here. Science misconceptions that are initiated as children are perpetuated through adulthood. And we have people that don't understand.
So
anyway.
I collect those stupid animals because they are stupid.
Okay, but you're doing it as a meme.
It's hilarious.
I'll accept
They're
that.
so dumb. None of them make sense. Like they don't make sense. And
Yes,
I think
yeah.
it's hilarious. Like they're so funny. So now I just have a ton of bone animals like in storage that just don't make sense. And I'm excited.
You need a bone animal shoot. You need to set them all up aesthetically.
I know. You know what I should do? I should get I want a 12-foot skeleton, like really bad.
Oh my gosh, I saw those. People like dress them up. I feel like one of my neighbors, I want to say they already pulled it out, but like I've seen them everywhere.
They're amazing. I think that if I got I think I'd get one of those and do something like he's the zookeeper. Like I feel like he would be with all the stupid, ugly animals.
That's it. That's the plan.
So yeah, but I've been collecting these guys for years. Some of them are animatronic. Some of them light up. Some of them are. They don't need to be existing. A lot of them, but you know, it's my job to take them home and love them for who they are. Okay. I'm sorry. I know I'm talking to you as like a science-minded person about my dumb animal collection.
Good news is though, bio's not me. I'm definitely physics and
yeah, but but
I took
still.
one semester of AP Bio and then somehow managed to do so like well enough on the AP test to get high school and college credit for my one
Oh,
semester of AP
nice.
Bio. It's the only bio I've ever taken. I've taken a lot of physics, chemistry, and math though, but no bio. I guess
Eh.
we can be wrong about it. I don't know.
Oh well.
Whatever.
Halloween. I'm a part of this group called Wild Memes and Ecological Dreams or something like that on Facebook.
No.
And literally,
I can only imagine what gets posted.
it's people
there.
posting memes of like birds and seals and stuff. It's, to any normal person, they would not be hilarious. To me, they're like animal dad jokes. They're so funny. But every year they're like, oh, hey, it's messed up animal season, because, and then it's always like a picture of like the skeleton animals like in Michael's or Joanne's or something. It just cracks me up. But yeah, I'm a big animal person. Like, I don't know. I couldn't do science though. I mean, science is cool. I just think it's very tedious. So what you do is incredible to me. Like, you're probably like a superhero somewhere to someone. No, I'm serious. You're like a superhero.
I think that like it is kind of surreal. It makes me feel a little old, but many of my former students have now graduated college.
Oh, wow.
And it is really endearing how many reach back out to me and are like, I'm a computer scientist now because of your class, or like I went into physics because of your class, or and things like that I'm like, oh, I'm so touched. And so I do feel like, I don't know. But I think that like on a much smaller scale, that's one reason why I continue to love to volunteer and do events with kids and with children, because I do think that, it's fulfilling and I like doing it.
Going back to what we talked about earlier, it just sort of seems like you can kind of push them in a little bit of a direction that they maybe wouldn't necessarily get at home.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Since now we've started from the very end and we are going to the beginning, what made you go into physics? Like, I have to know.
Oh, I can tell you this because I am a third generation physicist. My father actually has an equation named after him, and he
Whoa.
found the mass of the Milky Way.
He's also a superhero.
He's
like,
oh my gosh,
that's
well,
incredible.
in all ways. I recently, like very recently, agreed to go to a charity gala, and I was gonna bring a new cosplay, and I also had to do a sponsored stream. So I'm doing the sponsored stream. I finish, and I'm like, I have 4 hours until this charity gala, and I have not started the costume. So what do? I call my father, who lives like 10 minutes from me, who works from home but is an astrophysicist, and I'm like, hey, if I buy you lunch, will you help me make a costume? I'm so lucky that I never questioned that I would just have support. And I think that started from me being like, I need a chess team. And my dad's like, okay, leaves work at lunch to come coach my chess team. Or I did robotics all through school. And so I think I was exposed to physics, obviously, from a very young age. I would sit in on my dad's college courses that he taught, and he would always give me all the answers. So the college students would want to sit by me as a little 8-year-old because I had all the answers because I had already gone through it. I got to help open the dome at the observatory and help do research. And so there was a pivotal moment when I was in high school, and I had been dancing since I was 2. I'd been really heavily involved in theater. I love to sing. And part of me really wanted to like try to make it on Broadway or go and like really try to pursue that kind of musical theater direction. And about that time, I was also running my high school robotics team, coaching 2 middle school teams, and I had started 2 elementary school teams as well. So I was very involved in robotics, and I was vice president of the math club, like, doing all the kind of doing both things. I was that person who was on the cheerleading team and then goes to the robotics event in the cheer uniform because they were on the same day. And, that was me in high school, just that crazy person. And I remember like not totally sure what direction and what I was going to do. And then ultimately a scholarship kind of pushed me to be like, okay, no, I've got a good scholarship. I'm going to go to college. And so I just copied my dad. And I was like, okay, physics, this is what I'm doing. And I actually thought I wanted to do astrophysics just like him. until I accepted a research position at the Air Force Academy for a summer doing astronomy research. And I was like, oh no, I cannot be by myself. I am too chatty. I am too social. Being here all night doing research is not what I want to do. So I pivoted a little bit and I tried quantum research, and that was fun. I liked doing theoretical quantum research. I did like recently I did a YouTube video talking about how opening packs of trading card games feels a bit like Schrodinger's like cat, or like that Schrodinger's pack, because it might be worth more sealed than it is open. And so I was talking about this, and people in my comments were like, oh wow, like I feel like I actually learned more about quantum in the intro of your video than anything. And I'm like, well, more qualified to teach you about that than anything else in this video. But so what happened was I was doing physical chemistry research, and my research advisor got into a car crash. He was riding his bike and got hit by a car. And so I took over the contract and for the company, for the electrochemical company. And so that I ended up doing a lot of physical chemistry research. And I love it. I love math. And so I kind of, did both for a long time until I just sort of have now jumped ships a little bit more to doing full-time creative work. But I don't think that I don't use my science background. I mentioned even with the mechanical wings, or kind of having a very mathematical mindset when I approach gaming or gaming videos. And so I do think that like my background as a scientist bleeds into my creative work. People like to think of them as two, as I hit my mic, two very separate things. They're like, oh, well, there's math and then there's arts, or there's science and there's arts. Where to me, I feel like it's all really the same. The approach that I have to like solving, doing a proof or like solving a physics problem feels very similar to the approach that I take when I do artwork, or, when I paint or I come up with things. And so to me, it's funny, I guess to me, it all feels the
like
same.
It blends. Yeah.
It feels so much the same to me, but I don't know. So yeah, no, I'm a third generation physicist.
That's incredible. Superhero family. You guys are like the Incredibles.
I wish. That'd be cool. I'd love to turn invisible.
That would be a really cute family costume. Just saying. Like for Halloween.
I do not think I could get my family to dress up. My dad has gone to many conventions with me. He'll be just dressed as himself when I'm like Star Trek character, like 7 of 9. He got roped into going to a lot of conventions with me for a while.
That's
especially
cute,
when
though.
I was, newly back to Colorado from the West Coast, and I was, like didn't know anybody. And so I was like, come with me.
That's cute. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This has been really awesome. I feel like this was such a nostalgic show for me because you talked a lot about like my history as well. So it was kind of fun.
We have so much in common.
We are very similar.
Kind of wild. I feel like that's why we connected so much when we met, because I was like, oh, we have so much in common.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I didn't know that you were doing a lot of this stuff, so that's actually really exciting. Thank you for coming on the show. And this is episode 13 of the Coffin Lounge. I know I've been doing this.
Perfect number for Halloween coming up.
13. And we're going into October. It's spooky season. I'm ready for my pumpkin spice latte because I am that girl.
I've been having them since they were released. But actually, pumpkin chai. Their pumpkin chai iced latte. Oh my
so
gosh.
Good. I also immediately saw the big, the bulk Keurigs of like Starbucks, the pumpkin spice. I got that at Costco. I should like stock up. I need like 2 or 3. I'm already halfway through the box. We haven't even gotten to October. It's terrible.
It's not terrible. It's amazing. I'm like, we need to enjoy things and enjoy life, and fall's the best.
It is. And I'm over the bugs. I'm ready for the bug apocalypse.
Oh gosh,
because they need to go.
That is one thing I love about Colorado. We do not have crazy bugs.
I miss the West Coast.
Thank God.
Yeah. Oh, story time. Totally random. Yesterday, this is before we end. I'm just gonna leave everyone with this little tidbit. There was a wasp.
Let's end with the story.
There was a wasp, and it was at least 2 or 3 inches, probably 2 inches long. It was black. It was
that should
huge,
not be allowed.
Ginormous. It was in our bedroom. And so my partner had hunted it for like 2 hours. It went somewhere. We don't know where.
Stop. You have to burn the whole place down.
I
feel like
said,
that's
this
the
room is
only
dead to
explanation.
us. I closed the door. I said, we are no longer living in this room. We are sleeping on the couch together. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You, like I said, you got to burn it down. Like,
So now it is somewhere lost in our bedroom. Don't know where it's at. It's been there since last night. And I was terrified, paranoid, and slept like crap because I'm like, I'm going to die tonight. Like, this is how I go.
Not the same. Honestly, I feel like that is way worse because a 2-inch bug. Oh my gosh. My old house used to have well windows, and one time there were grates over the well windows. Yeah. But a baby bunny fell through the grate, and we're like, we have to save it.
How?
So we try to open the window to save the baby bunny, and it jumps and was loose in the house, hiding in the room. And I was like, we have to move out.
It's life's here now. It's our new pet.
We found it. It was released back into the wild. But there was a moment where I was like, this is it. Like,
at least it wasn't a black wasp that was 2 inches.
No, but I agree with you.
That is now
I thought
somewhere.
The baby bunny was world ending, but a wasp, I would just move out.
I think it went in the vent. I don't know. I closed the vent, but we'll see if we find it the next day or so. But it's terrifying going to bed at night going, what if this wasp comes out while we're asleep? It's awful.
Start of one of those superhero or horror movies. I can't decide. It's either a superhero movie where the wasp is going to bite you and you're going to like grow wasp wings or something. I don't know.
It wouldn't be terrible. Die in your sleep. Yeah, I really hope it's not the latter because that would be terrible. Anyway, thank you for coming on the show today. I'm going to just leave you with that story, the terrible story. That
hopefully there's a 14th episode and this wasp doesn't just end the series now.
Oh my gosh. Well, where can people find you?
Okay, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome getting to chat with you. I'm Anna Margaret. You can find me at It's Anna Margaret everywhere, mostly on Instagram and YouTube, but It's Anna Margaret all over the place.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you are interested, please subscribe to the Coffin Lounge. I am actually now officially fully syndicated across a ton of different platforms. I did that this week. So you can find us pretty much anywhere, but specifically Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Thank you for joining me on the Coffin Lounge today, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much. Mwah.